Sometimes the greatest strength you can carry is the decision not to react the way people expect you to. When someone has wounded you, the natural instinct is to strike back, to make sure they feel the weight of the same pain they handed you. It almost feels like justice, doesn't it? That temptation to let your words slice, to let your silence sting, or to show them you can play the same game they played with you. But here's the thing. When you mirror hurt with hurt, you only prove you're playing on the same level. And when God has called you higher, you don't get to live on that floor anymore. There is a kind of confusion that comes when you choose peace over chaos, when you choose grace instead of revenge. It disarms the enemy because they can't figure out how you're still standing. They can't understand why you didn't collapse under the weight of what they did. They expect the scream, the curse, the storm, the meltdown. But when you step into silence, when you hold yourself with dignity, when you refuse to let their actions dictate your character, you create a kind of holy confusion that makes them wonder who you've become. And that's the point. You've grown. Responding with grace doesn't mean you didn't feel the wound. It doesn't mean you're ignoring the ache that sits heavy in your chest. It means you've decided not to let pain have the loudest voice in your life. Some of us have wasted years giving hurt more volume than it deserves. We replay the moment over and over again in our heads, imagining how we could have snapped back harder, how we could have cut deeper with our words, how we could have made sure they never forgot what they did to us. But every time you play that scene again, you give away more of your peace. You give away more of your future, and you let the wound control the story. When you decide to respond with grace, you say, no, I won't let this moment define me. I won't let it dictate the kind of woman I am becoming. I won't shrink to match the energy of the pain. I'll rise. And rising doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes rising looks like walking away with your head held high. Sometimes rising looks like keeping your lips sealed when your flesh is screaming to speak. Sometimes rising looks like praying for the strength to hold your peace when your emotions want to drive you into war. You see, grace isn't weakness. Grace is power under control. Grace is when you have every right to retaliate, every right to clap back, every right to expose, but you choose instead to protect your spirit from contamination. That's not weakness. That's divine strength. Because the real power is not in showing someone you can fight on their level. It's in proving that they couldn't pull you down from yours. Some of you have been battling with the weight of betrayal, with disappointment that still aches in your bones. You've been asking yourself, should I say something? Should I do something? Should I show them I'm not the one to play with? But what if the most powerful thing you could do is absolutely nothing? What if the real clapback is your composure? What if the real revenge is your refusal to give the hurt the reaction it was hoping for? Grace will always confuse those who meant to break you. They can't wrap their minds around why you didn't lose yourself in the storm they sent your way. And maybe that's what makes grace so dangerous. It's unpredictable. You can prepare for a fight. You can prepare for an argument. But you can't prepare for someone who refuses to be moved. You can't prepare for someone who chooses to rise instead of sink. You can't prepare for someone who carries themselves like they've already won even when they're still healing. There will always be moments when silence will speak louder than words, when dignity will preach louder than anger, when peace will cut deeper than vengeance ever could. And if you can master that, if you can train yourself not to give the enemy what it came looking for, you will confuse every spirit that tried to destroy you. Because nothing frustrates darkness more than someone who refuses to dim their light. So don't match chaos with chaos. Don't match pain with pain. Don't match betrayal with bitterness. Match it with grace. Match it with dignity. Match it with the strength to hold your peace. Because sometimes the loudest victory is the quiet decision not to lose yourself. Would you like me to move on and expand key point 2 the same way into a 750-word segment? So the speech keeps flowing as a whole series. When life wounds you, the first instinct is often to curl up, to shrink, to make yourself smaller so that the pain doesn't sting as much. It feels easier to hide than to stand. It feels safer to dim your own light than to keep shining when your heart is broken. But what if I told you that shrinking never protects you? It only delays your rising. What if the very thing that was designed to crush you was also the very thing that could push you into a glow you didn't even know you carried? The truth is, there is power in deciding not to disappear when it hurts. There is a strength that comes when you let your light get brighter instead of weaker. People may expect you to fold, to break down, to walk around carrying the heaviness of betrayal or disappointment. But when you choose to shine instead of shrinking, you confuse the atmosphere. You stand up and say with your very presence, I am not defined by what tried to break me. You send a message that your worth is not up for negotiation and your purpose is not on pause because of pain. Shining doesn't always mean walking into the room loud, bold, and unshaken. Sometimes shining looks like showing up with tears still drying on your cheeks, but refusing to stay home in the shadows. Sometimes shining looks like getting dressed, going to work, starting the business, walking into church, raising your children, even while you're still healing inside. Sometimes shining is as simple as refusing to give up on yourself when every reason to quit is staring you in the face. When you shine in the midst of hurt, you take back control of your story. You say, yes, I've been through it, but I'm still here. You remind yourself that you were built with resilience, built with power, built with light. You remind yourself that your glow isn't based on who stays, who leaves, or who tries to dim you. Your glow comes from within, and when it comes from within, nobody can take it away. There is something so unsettling to the enemy when you shine in seasons you should have been broken. They don't understand why you're still smiling, still laughing, still building, still praising, still pushing forward. That's because shining is your weapon. Shining is your clapback. Shining is the evidence that no wound was strong enough to rob you of the light God placed inside you. I know what it feels like to want to hide, to not want anyone to see you when you're weak. But weakness doesn't cancel your shine. In fact, sometimes the most radiant light comes from a heart that's been cracked wide open, because even in the cracks, light escapes. And when that light escapes, it not only strengthens you, it shows others what resilience looks like. It shows others what courage looks like. It shows others that even though life hurts, healing is still possible. You don't have to explain yourself when you shine. You don't have to defend yourself, prove yourself, or fight to convince anyone of your worth. Just let your growth speak. Let your joy speak. Let your presence speak. Every time you walk into a room whole, free, and unbothered by the weight of what you survived, you're teaching without even trying. You're teaching others how to survive too. Shrinking will always be the easier option. Hiding will always feel safer. But you weren't created to play small. You weren't created to blend in. You weren't created to dim down so others could be comfortable. You were created to shine. And every time you refuse to shrink, you reclaim territory that pain tried to steal from you. Every time you shine, you remind yourself that your story is not over, that your destiny is still alive, that your purpose is still breathing. Don't shrink to match the size of what tried to hurt you. Expand, grow, become so radiant that the pain no longer has room to sit on you. Become so powerful in your shine that the shadows lose their grip. Choose to rise. Choose to glow, choose to shine, because there is no greater confusion to the enemy than a woman who glows brighter after she's been broken. Do you want me to continue with key point 3 in the same 750 word flowing style so it feels like one continuous powerful sermon? Pain has a way of trying to make you believe that it is the end of your story. When you're sitting in the middle of it, it convinces you that nothing good can come from it, that nothing strong can rise out of it. But what if pain is not the period? It's the comma. What if pain is not your final? It's the fuel. You see, when pain knocks at your door, you get to decide whether you let it bury you or build you. And there is something powerful that happens when you choose to turn pain into power moves. Pain can either paralyze you or propel you. It can either make you bitter or it can make you better. It can either keep you stuck in the memory of what hurt you, or it can be the very reminder of why you can never go back to that version of yourself again. The decision is yours. You don't get to control the wound, but you do get to control what you build with it. Some of the most unshakable people you'll ever meet didn't get that strength from easy seasons. They got it from the nights they cried themselves to sleep and still woke up determined to try again. They got it from the betrayal that was meant to break them, but instead birthed something new inside them. They got it from the rejection that felt like an ending, but became the doorway to the beginning of something bigger. Every time pain shows up, it comes with a question. What will you do with me? Will you let it turn you into someone cold, guarded, and closed off? Or will you let it teach you resilience, endurance, and wisdom? Pain can sharpen you if you let it. It can reveal parts of your strength you never knew existed. It can push you into opportunities you would have overlooked had everything gone smoothly. It can elevate you into levels of growth you would have never pursued had you not been wounded. Turning pain into power moves doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean ignoring the heartbreak, denying the disappointment, or covering up the scars. It means taking those very scars and saying, this is where I learned my lesson. This is where I grew wiser. This is where I stopped settling. This is where I found my voice. Your pain becomes proof that you are not who you used to be, and your power becomes the evidence that you survived what should have destroyed you. Power moves look like starting the business after they said you couldn't. Power moves look like getting that degree after everyone counted you out. Power moves look like showing up to the world with your head high even when they thought you'd never recover. Power moves look like loving again even though your heart was shattered. Power moves look like choosing to heal instead of staying bitter. Every time you decide to use pain as fuel, you're creating a testimony that confuses the very forces that tried to take you down. You may not see it in the moment, but pain is often the birthplace of purpose. There's something about going through struggle that gives you the authority to speak life into others. There's something about surviving heartbreak that equips you to guide someone else through theirs. There's something about walking through fire and coming out refined that makes you a living example of resilience. The very thing that was supposed to silence you ends up giving you the loudest voice. The very thing that was supposed to steal your confidence ends up birthing your boldness. The very thing that was supposed to stop you becomes the thing that propels you. And here's the truth. Pain doesn't get the final say. You do. You get to decide if you let it linger as a wound or if you let it evolve into wisdom. You get to decide if it keeps you chained or if it sets you free. And when you choose freedom, when you choose growth, when you choose to build something out of what tried to break you, you confuse every plan that was meant for your destruction because you were never meant to stay down. You were meant to rise. So don't waste your pain. Don't let it sit in your spirit collecting dust. Don't let it paralyze your progress. Use it. Build with it. Move with it. Let it push you into the version of yourself that no longer tolerates what once broke you. Let it become the very thing that proves you are unstoppable. Because when you turn pain into power moves, you don't just survive, you step into destiny. Do you want me to go ahead and expand key point 4 into the same 7 and 50 word style so the flow of the full speech continues seamlessly? There comes a moment in life when you realize that the most sacred thing you carry is not your title, not your accomplishments, not your connections. It is your peace. Peace is the crown that sits on your spirit. Peace is the gift that allows you to walk through storms without losing your balance. Peace is the treasure that keeps you whole when life tries to split you apart. And if you don't learn to guard your peace, everything else you try to build will eventually collapse. When you've been hurt, the first thing that tries to slip out of your hands is peace. Your mind races with questions. Your heart beats with anger. Your spirit wrestles with why. You lie awake replaying conversations, wondering how you missed the signs, wondering if you could have done something different. And slowly, without even realizing it, you let the wound rob you of sleep, rob you of joy, rob you of clarity. That's why protecting your peace has to become intentional. It has to be non-negotiable. Because peace doesn't just happen. You have to fight for it, guard it, and sometimes even walk away to keep it. Guarding your peace doesn't mean you don't feel the hurt. It doesn't mean you become numb to life. It means you recognize that your mind, your heart, and your spirit are too valuable to let chaos take residence there. You've got to set boundaries. Boundaries around your thoughts, boundaries around your conversations, boundaries around who has access to your time and your energy. Protecting your peace means you don't entertain every battle. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every rumor deserves your attention. Not every conflict is yours to solve. Some things you have to let go of, not because they didn't matter, but because your peace matters more. Peace is powerful because it confuses those who try to disrupt you. They don't understand how you can still smile when they tried to wound you. They don't understand how you can still walk with confidence when betrayal was supposed to leave you stumbling. They don't understand how you can still carry joy when the situation should have left you bitter. But that's the power of protecting your peace. It keeps you steady when the world expects you to break. It keeps you calm when chaos is trying to consume you. There will be moments when you have to say no just to protect your peace. No to the phone call that only brings drama. No to the conversation that will only open old wounds. No to the temptation to go back and explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't owe your peace to anyone. You don't owe explanations for why you chose to keep your spirit still. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. Because you cannot show up as the best version of yourself if your peace has been sacrificed on the altar of pleasing everyone else. And let's be honest, peace doesn't always come naturally. Sometimes you have to wrestle for it. Sometimes you have to remind yourself that you are not going back into the place of turmoil you just fought your way out of. Sometimes you have to choose quiet over noise, prayer over panic, worship over worry. Sometimes protecting your peace looks like stepping back, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You've learned that every battle doesn't deserve your energy. You've learned that silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words. You've learned that stillness can be the loudest declaration of strength. Peace is the soil where healing grows. If you don't have peace, your healing process gets delayed, your growth gets stunted, and your spirit gets heavy. But when you guard it, when you protect it like a crown, you give yourself permission to breathe again, to laugh again, to dream again. And the people who thought they could steal your light will be left confused because they realize they never had access to your crown in the first place. You are too valuable to let chaos live in you. You are too called to let confusion define you. You are too chosen to let hurt rob you of your crown. Guard your peace. Protect your mind. Protect your spirit. Protect your heart. Because when peace becomes your priority, no weapon formed against you will ever prosper the way it was intended. Do you want me to continue with key point 5 in the same 750 word powerful style so the full speech builds like one seamless message? Joy has a way of silencing the lies that try to convince you that you're broken beyond repair. Joy is not just a feeling, it's a weapon. It's the clapback the enemy never sees coming, because when pain shows up, the last thing it expects is laughter. When betrayal stings, the last thing it expects is a smile. When disappointment lingers, the last thing it expects is for you to still find reasons to dance. That's why choosing joy in the middle of heartbreak is so powerful, because it's the one response that turns pain upside down and declares, you didn't win. There's something confusing about a woman who still glows in the dark. People know what you went through. They know what was said. They know the betrayal, the rejection, the weight of the storm you survived. And yet, when they see you laughing, when they see you building, when they see you smiling with a peace that doesn't make sense, they can't figure it out. That confusion is your power. That joy is your answer. That glow is your victory. Joy doesn't mean you ignore the hurt. It doesn't mean you don't feel the ache of what happened. It means you decided that even in the middle of the ache, you're not going to give away your laughter. It means you chose to protect your smile even when your tears tried to silence it. It means you refused to let the wound become your permanent story. Joy is not the denial of pain. It's the declaration that pain will not own you. Think about how powerful that is, because bitterness is expected. Anger is expected. Silence is expected. What's unexpected is joy. What's unexpected is to see someone singing after sorrow. What's unexpected is to see someone dancing after devastation. What's unexpected is to see someone choosing happiness in a place that was meant to destroy them. That's why joy is such a powerful clapback. It catches the enemy off guard and proves that your spirit is untouchable. You may not feel joy naturally at first. Some days you'll have to force yourself to laugh through the tears, to find something, anything that reminds you life is still worth celebrating. Some days it'll feel like choosing joy is work, but the more you choose it, the stronger it becomes. Joy grows with practice. Joy multiplies with gratitude. Joy shows up when you stop focusing on what left and start paying attention to what stayed. Joy is found in the small victories, in the quiet blessings, in the moments where you realize you're stronger today than you were yesterday. There will be people who try to figure out why you're not bitter, why you're not angry, why you're not walking around with your head down. Let them wonder. Let them stay confused, because your joy is not for them. It's for you. It's the reminder that your healing is not dependent on an apology you may never receive. It's the reminder that your happiness is not tied to anyone else's actions. It's the reminder that your worth is not connected to who hurt you. Your joy is yours, and no one can take it from you unless you give them permission. Choosing joy is not just about smiling for yourself. It's also about declaring that your story is bigger than the pain. Joy declares that there is life after heartbreak, that there is strength after struggle, that there is beauty after brokenness. Joy tells the world, yes, I've been through it, but look at me still shining. Joy tells your future, I'm ready for what's next. Joy tells your past, you don't get to define me anymore. And here's the thing, joy heals, laughter heals, smiling heals, dancing heals. Sometimes healing doesn't come from analyzing the pain over and over again. Sometimes healing comes from living in spite of it. Sometimes the breakthrough comes when you let yourself have fun again, when you surround yourself with love again, when you decide that no matter what tried to steal your joy, it couldn't. So laugh loud, dance freely, smile big, glow hard, because joy is the kind of clapback that nobody can argue with. It's the evidence that you're still standing, still shining, still becoming everything pain tried to stop. And the most confusing thing you could ever do to what tried to destroy you is to live your life full of joy. Would you like me to now expand key point 6 in the same 750 word powerful flow so the entire speech becomes complete and seamless? There is something powerful about transformation that makes people stop and stare when life has broken you. When you've walked through betrayal, disappointment, or rejection, most expect you to stay the same. They expect you to remain the woman who carries her hurt on her face, who walks with her shoulders slumped, who speaks from bitterness instead of healing. They expect the pain to leave a permanent imprint on you. But what they don't expect is for you to heal so fully, to rise so boldly, to evolve so completely that you become unrecognizable. That's where the real confusion begins. When the person who survived the storm doesn't look like the person who went through it. Healing has a way of remaking you. It softens what was once hardened. It strengthens what was once fragile, and it elevates what was once overlooked. And when you allow yourself to truly heal, you don't just return to who you were before the pain. You become someone entirely new, someone wiser, someone stronger, someone freer, someone who no longer walks with the weight of the wound, but instead carries the beauty of the lesson. There will be people who come back around expecting to meet the old version of you, the one who was still carrying pieces of brokenness. But when you've done the work, when you've prayed through it, cried through it, journaled through it, and fought your way into wholeness, they'll find someone they don't recognize anymore. They'll look for the insecurities and they'll see confidence. They'll look for the silence and they'll hear your voice. They'll look for the pain and they'll find peace. That's the gift of healing. You become unrecognizable to everything that tried to keep you the same. Becoming unrecognizable doesn't mean you forget what you've been through. It means you stopped letting it define you. It means you no longer walk into rooms carrying the shadow of your past. It means you no longer introduce yourself with the labels of what happened to you. You no longer allow people to attach you to the version of yourself that was still bleeding. You've grown beyond that. You've stepped into the kind of freedom that announces without words, I'm not her anymore. I'm new. And here's the thing, transformation is the loudest confusion you could ever create, because people know pain leaves marks. People know wounds leave scars. People know betrayal leaves a weight. And yet, when you show up whole, when you show up healed, when you show up radiant, it unsettles them. It makes them question how you survived what should have destroyed you. It makes them wonder what power you tapped into that allowed you to rise when you had every reason to stay down. It makes them realize that nothing they did had the power to stop your becoming. When you heal, you don't just confuse those who underestimated you. You also inspire those who are still in their own battle. They look at your glow and realize healing is possible for them too. They look at your strength and realize brokenness doesn't have to last forever. They look at your transformation and realize pain doesn't get the final say. Your becoming unrecognizable isn't just about you. It's about showing others that their storm can turn into their strength too. And you'll know you've reached that place when you no longer even feel the need to prove yourself. You won't need to show receipts. You won't need to defend your growth. You won't need to go back and explain your transformation to anyone who doesn't understand it. You'll simply live it. You'll walk in it. You'll breathe it. And the fruit of your healing will speak louder than anything your past could ever whisper. The beauty of becoming unrecognizable in your healing is that it leaves no room for what once broke you to claim you again. You've outgrown it. You've evolved past it. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer fits into the place where the pain was created. And that's what makes it so powerful. There's no going back. Once you've been transformed, the old you no longer exists. So don't be afraid to let your healing change you so much that you can't even recognize yourself sometimes. Don't be afraid to look in the mirror and see someone stronger, wiser, softer, freer. Don't be afraid to let your glow unsettle those who once fed off your pain, because there is no greater confusion, no greater victory, and no greater clapback than becoming unrecognizable in your healing.